Good morning and welcome, my friends. Yes, another edition of the Flipside Live coming your way on this Thursday morning, February the 20th, a little after 6:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Robbie Noel with you for another test broadcast using a new system called Spreaker. So I still haven't managed to figure out how to include intro music or audio interviews, but that'll come in time, my friends. As you know, I broadcast live from Rosarito Beach, Mexico. So I do have a fairly large amount of free time on my hands to keep myself occupied. So bear with me on these broadcasts. It is my hope and intention that they will increase in quality as time goes by. Before I tell you the current early morning actions in the financial markets, I want to address one small subject. On Monday evening on his show, Joe McNeil mentioned to the audience that financially he could probably not be able to continue to support the micro effect. And there was wide speculation on Monday and yesterday that the micro effect would in fact be going off the air. Well, for those of you who tuned into the micro effect yesterday, you already know that the micro effect was broadcasting yesterday, just as it is today. We will be having a conference call between Joe McNeil, Jeffrey Bennett, myself, Roger Sales, John Stokes, later sometime today to see whether or not we can figure something else. The reason I'm doing these broadcasts on Spreaker is simply a case of finding a alternative source to broadcast should it come to pass that Joe McNeil is forced to shut down the micro effect because of the costs associated with running a internet network. Granted, internet networks are not, in the big scheme of the things, very expensive to run. It is not like running a radio station. First off, there's no need for a physical studio, so rental is not an issue. The costs associated with the network broadcast are primarily the use of broadband and satellite charges if you elect to put out the broadcast that would be able to be picked up by other radio stations. Let me briefly tell you a story. Joe McNeil created the micro effect a few years ago. Because he thought that the alternative media would be going through a growth phase. And he was absolutely correct in his assumption. The alternative media has grown in leaps and bounds over the last 4 years. This can be best illustrated by recent numerous reports how the so-called mainstream media monopoly is not pulling in as many listeners or viewers as they had hoped. CNN's viewership has pretty much dropped off the radar, causing Larry King, the former host of Larry King Live over at CNN, to say they should simply turn CNN into a cartoon network. I'm sure those statements hurt a lot of feelings of folks over at CNN. But there's no question the reason for the shift in demographics by people watching and listening mainstream media, I think, has a more profound reason than anything else, and that is, and I want to believe that a large majority of people have finally figured out that their former sources of information that they had relied on and trusted over many years, if not decades, pretty much were nothing more than propaganda machines with an agenda and seeming to be on a mission to misinform. Thanks to the many sources that are available in the alternative media, people have slowly began to discover alternative sources that for many years they were convinced were the purview of psychos, whack jobs, and conspiracy theorists. However, I'm convinced that some of them whose interest was piqued by something that they heard ended up discovering that what they initially thought as conspiracy theory was in fact conspiracy fact, because what they heard had confirmed what they had either been subjected to or had personally seen. There's no question in my mind that the alternative media is on a growth path. In other words, people can evaluate a particular host or a program by the information that they provide during the show. If the host is simply preaching to the choir or blatantly promoting a product that he has a financial interest in, folks will eventually discover that there's a smorgasbord of talent on the alternative media that is not trying to push a product or a political agenda or a philosophy, but rather are simply attempting as best they can to inform the listeners about the state of current affairs, because, as I have stated many times before, we are truly living in a unique time and place. I have, for the past decades, dedicated a considerable chunk of my time at not only researching my own country's history of Rhodesia and the factors that were the cause of its demise, but I did likewise to my other former home country of South Africa. During my 30-year stay in the U.S., I also obviously was encouraged and spent a considerable amount of time researching American history. I became more involved in it as I started to see the connections between my former home country of Rhodesia, South Africa, and ultimately what is taking place in America today. And it struck me as being more than a coincidence, but a explanation as to where we've been and where we go. And so that is what I going to attempt to do on these broadcasts on Spreaker. These initial shows are relatively short in duration, so I can start to figure out how everything works. But with your help and input, I have the ability to expand these daily broadcasts to an hour or two. As a matter of fact, on this particular system, I can actually do a 3-hour show, and I have to say there will be times when 3-hour shows are necessitated in order to explain a specific point. I would appreciate, and I don't often do this, but I would really appreciate input from you guys that are listening to this particular podcast, not only on the quality of the podcast, but also your feelings about the micro effect, and if the micro effect were to go dark, that this particular program would be a fairly good replacement. You can email me at robbie_noel with the numeral 1 at mac.com, or robbie_noel at hotmail.com. There's also a link you will find if you click on my name on my website at robbie_noel.com. You'll see a logo for Flying Eagle Gold and Silver. Just if you want to email Jeffrey Bennett, you can do that by clicking on his name, but you can give me your feedback by just simply clicking on my name. As far as the market is concerned today, it is one of those days where, although the news economically was negative as far as initial jobless claims and a few other indicators that I'm not paying too much attention to, but it has at least pushed the Dow into the green, not by much. Gold was off about $14 before trading opened this morning. Currently, gold is off $5 at $315.40. Silver sitting at $21.72. For the next move up in gold, we need to see a challenge to the $1,400 area in gold and $26 in silver. I am still of the firm belief there's a high degree of probability we will see both gold and silver retest their previous lows. At some point. It's just the way these things operate, my friends. Now I'm not too sure exactly whether or not I hit the right button on this particular broadcast, so if I made an error, accept my apologies. I'm still on a learning curve. I'm an old guy. It takes me a while to figure things out, but we all figure things out. So, hope you enjoyed today's early morning edition of the Flipside. And yes, I will be, God willing, live on the Micro Effect this afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till tomorrow, my friends. See you, bye.